Welcome to the Halloween Marathon of 2022.
What happens if you're a knight from the medieval times and one day you just go, hang out at a local cemetery with your girlfriend who looks like she's dressed as a princess? Well, naturally, Satan himself emerges from the sky, swoops down, and takes your girlfriend. Why are you so surprised? I mean, think about it. You could have taken your girlfriend to a lovely forest, a meadow, some beautiful lakeside cottage, your castle, her castle, somebody else's castle. You took her to the cemetery. Congratulations there, Einstein, and welcome to Ghosts and Goblins on the NES.
Can I review this one? This is my favorite game ever.
Fine, go ahead.
Can you introduce me?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pumpkin King.
Thank you. This game has ghouls, it has ghosts, and other scary things. I love it.
Wait, that's it? That's your review?
I've never done a review before.
Get out of here. Go back to Wampaku Graffiti. Okay, let me start again. Originally released in the arcades in 1985, this game right here became widely popular among the gaming community thanks to its great port on the NES in 1986. It was created by Tokuro Fujiwara and developed by Capcom. Now, there have been countless of reviews and playthroughs on YouTube, so I'm not going to bore you with all the details. Rather, I'm just going to share my personal experience with this title. Now, I played it back in '86 shortly after it was released, and at the time I still did not own an NES, and I played it over at a friend's house. In fact, I never even heard about it. The gameplay immediately had me hooked. I mean, we were used to seeing a little plumber step on a Goomba and make his way through the very colorful Mushroom Kingdom, and then out of nowhere comes this game, Ghosts and Goblins, and it went on a totally different direction. Here was this knight in armor that was just thrust into the middle of a cemetery, fighting for his life against a never-ending horde of zombies and an army of the undead. And you had to learn quickly, because if you just stood around for a couple of seconds, you were dead. Not only were there zombies coming out of the ground after you, you had crows, you had fire-spitting plants, whatever they are, and all of them had one goal in mind, to kill you. It was an onslaught on your young, tiny mind. And they were good at their job too, but they all paled in comparison to that little red mother that was at the end of the cemetery just waiting for you to pass by and just make your life a living hell.
In the manual, he's called the Red Devil.
Get thee away, foul pumpkin. The day I beat him, I was so happy, and that happiness was quickly buried under a million pounds of sand after I realized that he was not the end boss, but rather just another common enemy. When I finally did get to the end boss of the first level, I quickly realized that the javelin was just not going to do it. It took me a few more tries before I finally figured out that the dagger, or the knife, or whatever you want to call it, is the weapon of choice for the game. The fact that they put other weapons into the game is just a cruel sense of humor by the programmers. And don't even get me started on that fire weapon, because if you got the fire weapon at any point, you had two options. You could try to play your way through it and try to get the knife again, or you can just reset your Nintendo and just start all over. And to me, the third stage was just one of the most difficult for me to get past the first time I got to it. It took me maybe like 20, maybe 30 tries before I finally got through that awful place. When you get to the end of the third level, after making it through all that mayhem, that platform jumping, the ghosts flying at you, and the crows, you were met at the gate by two unicorns. That's what they're called. Don't blame me, I didn't name the enemies. Look at the manual. One is bad enough. Two of them? That's just an exercise in cruelty. And if you didn't have the knife by that point, forget it. You might as well just turn off the Nintendo and just walk away for a day or two. And then if that wasn't bad enough, you got to stage 4. But not just stage 4, no, you got to the second part of stage 4, which was what I like to call hell. The game calls it level 4, but I call it hell. Because that part of the stage just had Red Devil after Red Devil after Red Devil. That level for me was just brutal. And just when I thought, well, could this game get any harder? Well, apparently so, because once you get to the last stage, the second part of the last stage, that thing is a marathon of pure stress and reflex, and a little bit of luck. You had to fight red devils, unicorns, that flying dragon thing. You also had the big man that returned from level 3. You had the screeching little annoying ghost. You had jumping skeletons. It wasn't enough that they put every single other enemy crammed into one stage. They just had to add one more pain in the ass for you as you made your way up the stage to the last level. And there was no halfway point. You died at any point in time on that stage and you were thrown back all the way at the bottom. That stage took forever for me to accomplish, and just when I was celebrating beating that son of a bitch of a last boss, Capcom once again placed one of the cruelest jokes in gaming history. Yeah, you had to do it all over again. As a kid back then, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no internet, so what am I gonna do? Well, what the hell, I'll do it again, and I did, somehow, I don't know how. I did it. I beat this mother freaking game. So take that, evil Capcom programmers. This game right here and Ninja Gaiden are two of the hardest Nintendo games out there, and I'm proud to say that I beat them both without any cheat codes back in the day, because I had no life. But this game right here is going to go down as one of the hardest games I have ever played, period. Nowadays we have Demon Souls and Dark Souls and all these other games, but back then we had games like Ghosts and Goblins and Ninja Gaiden. Yeah. Those games prepared you for what was coming down the road. So I'm going to give this one an 8 on the graphics. I think it comes very close to the arcade version, and I think it's a pretty damn good port too, considering this is one of the first generation NES games. The levels are varied and they don't look like one another, so it does feel like you're making progress as you make your way through the map. And my goodness, you're going to get used to seeing that map at least 400 times before you finish this game. Gameplay for this one, it's a 7. It's a very tough game to get through if you don't have the right weapon. Sometimes even the game tries to sabotage you by placing weapons in places that are very hard to get past without possibly picking that weapon up. Also, towards the end of the game, it's all about knowing which ladder to use and which enemies to confront or avoid in order to avoid being ganged up on. Sometimes it just comes down to luck. Overall, I would give this game over here solid 8 on the Halloween scale. Ghosts and Goblins is one of those franchises that are etched into the mind of gamers from the 80s and the 90s. If you want a good challenge and you wanted a good, solid platforming action game, you could do no wrong with the Ghosts and Goblins franchise. Now, join me tomorrow when I will be going over an arcade title that for some reason never got in console port. That's a shame too, because this next game I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, it's a lot of fun and a hell of a title to play during the Halloween season. You don't want to miss this one, trust me, it's awesome.